This video is for those people who waste their precious time and make their precious body sick by overthinking about anything. To understand the real message of this story, please watch it till the end. Once a Gurudev was teaching his disciples. He was saying that people should not worry too much about anything in life, because 70% of the diseases in our body are caused by this overthinking. Most of the people in our society worry the most about things that they have no reason to worry about. These days, we look around us and see that every person is thinking about something or the other. Whoever you ask about his overthinking, then he will show you 10 reasons for his too much thinking. And he will show 10 reasons that have nothing to do with his life. And he will harm himself by thinking all these useless thoughts, because he does not know how many diseases are being created in his body due to his excessive thinking. Actually, we don't know what kind of diseases are caused in our body due to these excessive thoughts. We only meditate on overthinking. Then Gurudev told his disciples that, today, I am going to tell you some ways to get rid of these overthoughts, so that you will not have any extra thoughts in your life. And when we don't worry too much about something, we can stay free from most diseases, and we can also save from most of the diseases. Gurudev also said that there will be no disease in our body when we are free from excessive thoughts. Then Gurudev said, today I will tell you a small story, and then you will understand why a person worries so much. Then Gurudev said, once upon a time, there lived a man in a village. That man had no shortage of money, and he was very rich. He had a servant, and that servant had been working for him for a long time. That man was always worrying about something. But his servant had no thought. And when that man saw his servant, he saw his servant was very happy. Because his servant was always happy. And seeing this happiness of his servant, that man always felt very jealous. That man thought that, I have so much money, I have such a big business. But why am I not happy like this poor servant? The man says to himself, look at this poor servant, how peacefully he is sleeping. But I do not sleep at night. Every time, when the rich man saw his servant's happiness, his anxiety was increased. The rich man thought to himself that, why this poor servant has no any thought, what he eats, how can he be so happy? Many days passed by doing this. Then, one day, the rich man brought an object from the city. That object was very beautiful to see. The rich man brings the object and gives it to his servant and says, keep this object very carefully, because it is made of glass, and if it accidentally falls on the ground, it will break into pieces. And this object is very valuable. So take it and keep it in a safe place, so that it is not damaged or lost. The servant then took the object and left it in his master's room. The rich man himself took great care of the object and cleaned it every day. Then one day, that rich man needed to go to another village. Then his mind worries about this object. The rich man thought to himself that, if I go to another village and my servant does not take care properly of this thing, it will be a great loss for me. Then the rich man calls his servant and says, you must take proper care of this object, so that this object does not get damaged or lost. I will be back in 2 days, and until then, you must take proper care of this object. Then the servant says, you don't worry at all, master, till you come back. I will take great care of this object, and take proper care of this object, so that this object is not damaged or lost, so you can travel worry-free. Then the rich man left from there. Then when the servant wanted to clean the object fell from the hand of the servant to the ground, and the object broke into pieces because the object was made of glass. Then the servant thought to himself that, if my master finds out that this object has been broken from me, he will scold me a lot and he will be very angry. Then 2 days later, when the rich man returns home, he finds that his precious object has been broken. Then the rich man was very distressed and thought to himself that, if I had taken this object with me, then it would not have broken. And this object was very expensive. The rich man brought this object for a lot of money. Then the rich man scolds his servant a lot and says, you are such a useless person that you cannot take proper care of a small thing. The rich man gets very angry and says to his servant, you are such a useless person that you cannot handle this precious little thing of mine and break it. But soon the rich man controlled his anger and sat down in one place. And he began to think very much about that object. Then the rich man could not sleep all night thinking about the object. That rich man used to go around like this, once in the house and once outside. And then the eyes of the rich man fell on his servant, and he saw his servant sleeping soundly. His servant looked like he had no thought. When the rich man saw his servant in this condition, he became even more angry. Then the rich man thought that he has broken my precious object, and now I see he is not worried about it. He is sleeping soundly. Then the rich man also thought that he had given all his thoughts to me, and this increased the thoughts of the rich man, because he saw his servant sleeping soundly. Then the rich man thought that his servant has no thought. Why? In fact, he acts like he doesn't care about anything. The rich man also thought that, what is the reason for his lack of thoughts? I don't know how he stays so calm. The next morning, the rich man went to his servant. He told his servant that, you have made a big mistake. Because the thing that you broke, I brought that thing for you, and it was very valuable. Since you have been working for me for a long time, I took this gift for you from the city. And I wanted to give you this gift on your birthday. What else can be done? You broke the thing. In fact, the rich man's intention was to make his servant worry somehow. And this is why the rich man tells his servant the words. When the servant came to know that this object had been brought for him, he became absorbed in too much thinking. Now that servant is also not interested in any work. Somehow he gets his work done throughout the day, and when he goes to sleep at night, only that object floats before his eyes. Then the servant thought that, if that thing had not broken from my hand, my master would have given it to me. And how precious the thing was, how beautiful it was, and that thing used to light up my house. That night the rich man noticed that his servant could not sleep that night. Then the rich man realizes that the thought that was in his mind for so long has now entered the mind of his servant. That servant can no longer sleep properly at night. Thinking about this, the rich man feels very happy, and seeing this, the rich man became free from worry. Then the rich man thought to himself that, I am not only worried, my servant is also worried today. The rich man thought that when people are greedy or infatuated with something, the thought may come to him. As the servant becomes enamored of the object because he thinks that, if the object had not been broken from him, the object would have been given to him by his master, and thoughts about it enter into him, and he is engrossed in thoughts. Then Gurudev said to his disciples, you see how thoughts enter into human beings. The servant did not know that, if the object had not been broken from him, the object would not have been his. The servant did not realize that his master did not bring the object for him. In fact, the rich man brought the object for himself. But what he said to his servant made his servant sleepless at night. That servant wasted all his happiness by thinking about something that he never had or would never have. Then Gurudev told his disciples that a man continues to think like this throughout his life. People tend to overthink things that make no sense. Most of the people are more preoccupied with thoughts that have no meaning, and people don't know that 70% of diseases in our body are caused by this too much thinking. Then Gurudev told his disciples to think, if we think too much about something, will that thing become us? Or if sadness comes in our life, and we overthink about that sadness, then will that sadness disappear from our life by itself? It is never possible that sorrow will disappear from our lives by itself. Because sadness will leave our life only when we don't think on it but try to get out of it, or try to solve this sadness. And most people will not understand this because they just want a chance to think. And people don't want to understand that everything that people want to get in their life is a cause of extra worry in their life. Then Gurudev told his disciples that the greatest way to become free from worry is to let whatever happens. No matter how bad the situation in your life is, stop thinking on that situation. Instead, try to get out of that bad situation. And think that the circumstances that come into our lives were predestined. Because it is not possible to change our situation by thinking. Because the situation is changed not by thinking, but by action. If you cannot work, then stop thinking. Because nothing can be achieved by thinking without action. If sorrow comes to you, keep thinking that happiness will come one day. By overthinking these things, we only harm ourselves. Because no matter how well you feed a man, if he has thoughts, that food will never do him any good. Gurudev then told his disciples that, if one of you wants to be happy, if one wants to be healthy, he must be free from worry. And the greatest way to be free from worry is to realize that we have no power to stop what is happening. Rather, we have to think that something could have been worse than what is happening. Then it is possible to be free from thought. The second thing you need to believe in order to be happy and free from thinking is that if an object or person disappears from your life, you must assume that object or person was never there in your life or destiny. There is no point in thinking about that, because there are many people in our society who commit suicide when a person is missing from their life because they don't believe in their fate, and many take the path of fatal addiction. Come to think of it, it was never the solution to his life, because suicide can't be the solution to anything. Rather, they should have thought that if a person is gone from my life, then I am also gone from his life. As he is far from me, I am far from him also. So if he doesn't think about this, then why should you think so much about it? Gurudev wanted to convey to his disciples that everything that happens in the world happens according to natural laws. Maybe sometimes our life does not go according to our plan, but we must not forget that God has his own plan for each person's life. Our life may go out of our plan, but never out of God's plan. Dear viewers, from this story, we understand that to be happy and to keep our body healthy, we should not overthink anything. If we want to change our deplorable condition, we have to work hard, not to worry. Thanks a lot for watching the video. Please subscribe my channel.